The moment I pulled into my in-laws' driveway, I knew something was wrong. Every window in the house blazed with light. I could hear music drifting out. Frank Sinatra, my father-in-law Harold's favorite, and the warm, muffled sound of people laughing inside. My daughter Lily was asleep in the back seat, her cheek pressed against the window, still clutching the little wrapped gift she had insisted on carrying herself. She had picked it out weeks ago, a ceramic cardinal, because Grandpa Harold loved birds. My husband Daniel squeezed my hand before we got out of the car. "It's going to be fine," he said. I wanted to believe him. Harold's 80th birthday. The whole family had been talking about it for months. His sister flew in from Arizona. His old business partner drove up from Richmond. There were 30, maybe 40 people inside that house. And we were 40 minutes late because Lily had a meltdown getting her shoes on, and I had spent 20 minutes on the side of the road trying to get her calm again. 40 minutes. That's all. Daniel knocked on the door. We waited. My mother-in-law Patricia answered. She was dressed in a navy-wrap dress, her hair freshly done, a glass of white wine in her hand. She looked at Daniel. Then she looked at me. Then she looked past us both, at Lily standing on the front step in her pink coat, still half asleep, still holding the cardinal. Patricia's expression didn't change. "We're at capacity," she said. "The caterer has a strict count. I'm sorry, but you'll have to head home." I heard Daniel pull in a breath beside me. I looked at her. I genuinely thought I had misheard. "Patricia," I said, "we drove 2 hours." "I know," she said. "I'm sorry. It's a seating issue. We don't need seats," Daniel said. "I'm sorry. It's a seating issue. We don't need seats," Daniel said. His voice had gone very quiet. "We can stand. We just want to wish my father a happy birthday." "The caterer has a count," she repeated, and then she closed the door. Not all the way. She left it open about 2 inches, and through that gap I could see the warm glow of the dining room, could see people in nice clothes holding drinks, could hear someone saying something that made a whole cluster of guests laugh at once. I stood on that front step, and I listened to my husband's family celebrate his father's 80th birthday, and I understood in a way I never had before that we were not supposed to be there. Not me, specifically. Daniel took Lily's hand. I followed him back to the car. I don't remember walking. I remember sitting in the passenger seat and staring at the dashboard and not knowing what to do with my hands. "Mommy," Lily said from the back seat. I turned around. She was looking at the house, at the lit windows, at the shadows of people moving behind the glass. She still had the cardinal in her lap. "Does Grandpa Harold know we came?" she asked. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. "Does he know we brought him a present?" Daniel started the car. I reached back, and I held Lily's hand, and I told her that yes, of course Grandpa Harold knew we loved him, and we would celebrate with him another time. And how about we stop for hot chocolate on the way home? She didn't say anything else. She just looked out the window as we backed out of the driveway. She watched the house until we turned the corner and it disappeared. That's the moment that broke me. Not the closed door. Not Patricia's face. It was watching my 8-year-old daughter try to understand why she wasn't wanted in her grandfather's house, and not having a single true thing I could say to her. I should tell you about how I got here. Daniel and I have been married for 9 years. I was 24 when we met, 26 when we got married, and from the very beginning his family made it clear that I was an acceptable addition, but not a welcome one. Patricia came from old money. Her family had a name in the county, the kind of name that got buildings named after it, the kind that got mentioned in local history books. Harold had built his own success in commercial real estate, but he had married up and he knew it, and Patricia had never let him forget it. Their son Marcus, Daniel's older brother, had inherited their mother's instinct for social hierarchy. He had married a woman named Courtney, whose family ran in the same circles as Patricia's. They lived 20 minutes away, had dinner with the in-laws every Sunday, and had been managing Harold's estate documents since Harold started having memory trouble 2 years ago. I had met Daniel in graduate school. I was getting a master's in education. He was finishing a law degree. I grew up in a working-class family in western Pennsylvania. My father drove a delivery truck. My mother worked the front desk at a medical office. We were comfortable but not wealthy, and Patricia had clocked that fact within the first 10 minutes of meeting me and had been filing it away ever since. Over 9 years, I learned to read the room. I knew that Patricia liked things done a certain way. I brought wine when we came to dinner. I sent handwritten thank you notes. I showed up on time. I remembered birthdays, and I was kind, and I tried, consistently and genuinely, because Harold was worth it. Harold was different. Harold was the kind of man who remembered exactly what your kid had said the last time he saw her and asked about it 3 months later. He remembered that Lily was afraid of loud noises, so he always warned her before he popped a bottle of sparkling cider. He kept a jar of the specific brand of honey-roasted peanuts she liked on his desk, just in case she came by. When I had my second miscarriage 3 years ago, the one we didn't tell anyone about for a long time, Harold somehow found out, and he drove an hour to our house with a pot of soup. And he sat at our kitchen table, and he didn't say much, just that he was sorry, and that I was a good woman, and that his son was lucky. He was the reason I kept trying with that family. I'd spent 9 years driving to their house, cooking dishes. I knew Patricia liked sitting quietly through dinners where Courtney dominated every conversation, and Marcus talked over Daniel constantly. I had watched Marcus and Courtney get handed things, a down payment on their house, a membership at the club Harold belonged to, introductions to clients, a financial stake in a property deal that had paid out extremely well. I had watched my husband get a card on his birthday and a compliment when he did something impressive and very little else. Daniel never complained. He had long ago made peace with the fact that he was the second son, and that second sons in his family got less. What he hadn't made peace with was watching it happen to me, or to Lily. I had been the one to push Harold's wheelchair at Lily's school concert last spring because Marcus and Courtney had a prior engagement. I had been the one to drive Patricia to her cardiac follow-up appointment in March because Marcus was in a meeting and Daniel was in court, and I rearranged my entire teaching schedule to make it work. I had organized Harold's 70th birthday dinner, his 75th, and had spent 3 weeks this past fall calling venues and caterers for this one, the 80th, only to be told by Patricia, very politely, that she and Courtney had decided to handle it themselves. I should have understood then what was happening. Daniel didn't speak for the first 10 minutes of the drive home. Lily had fallen back asleep. The cardinal was still in her lap. She said capacity, I finally said. At your father's birthday. I heard her. Daniel. I heard her. He exhaled slowly. I'll call my father tomorrow. I'll explain. Your father doesn't control what happens in that house. You know that. He didn't answer. We were on the highway when his phone rang through the Bluetooth. The name on the screen said Dad. Daniel glanced at me. He answered, Dad, where are you? Harold's voice came through the speakers, and he sounded not like the party version of Harold, not the polished hosting version. He sounded like himself, like the man who had shown up at our kitchen table with soup. We're on the highway, Daniel said. Headed home. A pause. Why? Patricia said. There was a seating issue. A seating issue. Harold repeated the words the way you repeat something when you want to make sure you heard it correctly. Turn around. Dad, I'm asking you to turn around and come back to this house right now. His voice was steady, not angry, just absolutely certain. Both of you. Lily too if she's awake. And Daniel, don't call ahead. Just come. Daniel looked at me. I nodded once. He took the next exit. When we pulled back into the driveway, the front door was already open. Harold was standing in the doorway, which he almost never did anymore because his knees were bad and he used a cane. He was dressed in a good blazer, the gray one I had helped him pick out for a charity gala 2 years ago, and he was holding his cane in one hand and his phone in the other, and he looked like a man who had made a decision. Daniel helped Lily out of the car. She was groggy, still carrying her cardinal, and when she saw Harold, she woke up all the way. She ran up the front steps and he caught her, one arm around her, and held on for a moment longer than usual. He looked at me over the top of her head. Come inside, he said. The party had continued without us. That was the first thing I noticed. The music was still playing, guests were still circulating, and most people hadn't registered the shift in the room yet. Patricia was near the bar talking to Harold's sister. Marcus and Courtney were at the far end of the dining room. The second thing I noticed was the man standing near Harold's study, a man I didn't recognize, in a dark suit, holding a briefcase. Harold guided us to the center of the living room. He didn't ask the DJ to cut the music. He just raised his voice. Excuse me, he said. If I could have everyone's attention for a moment. The room quieted. Not all at once, but gradually, like a wave moving backward from where he stood. Patricia turned from the bar. Her face was already tightening. Most of you know, Harold said, that this birthday marks 80 years. I am not a sentimental man, but I am a man who believes in being honest about what he sees. He paused. Tonight I was told that my son Daniel and his wife and my granddaughter were turned away from the door of my house, the house I own, by someone who told them there was a seating issue. Absolute quiet. There is no seating issue, Harold said. There has never been a seating issue. The only issue in this room is one I have been watching for 9 years and have allowed to go on for too long. Patricia took a step forward. Harold, this is not the time. It's exactly the time, he said, since you've gone to the trouble of gathering the whole family. He turned to the man in the dark suit. The man opened his briefcase. My attorney is here tonight, Harold said, because 2 weeks ago I asked him to be here. Not because of tonight specifically, but because of something I found out 3 months ago and have been sitting with since. He looked at Marcus, directly, without blinking. My son Marcus has been the signatory on my estate documents since I gave him power of attorney in 2022. I did that because I trusted him and because his mother asked me to, and because I'll admit this plainly, not paying close enough attention. The room had gone so still I could hear Lily breathing beside me. 3 months ago, I asked my attorney to conduct a full review of my estate because I had noticed some inconsistencies in the property accounts. Specifically, I had noticed that a parcel of land I owned in the county, land I had set aside years ago, land I had specifically designated for Daniel and his family, had been quietly transferred to an LLC registered in Marcus's name. I heard Courtney make a small sound across the room. The land was worth approximately $400,000 at the time of transfer, Harold said. The transfer was documented as a management fee. I was not consulted. I did not authorize it. He looked at Marcus. I want you to tell me that's not true. I am standing in front of our whole family and I am asking you to tell me that is not what happened. Marcus said nothing. Harold nodded slowly, like he'd expected exactly that. My attorney has prepared new documents, he said. I have signed them. Effective tonight, the power of attorney previously granted to Marcus is revoked. The LLC transfer is being contested and will be reversed, and I have updated my estate plan to reflect more accurately what I actually want. He turned to Daniel. His voice changed then. It lost its formal edge. It became what it always was when it was just Harold, just the man who showed up with soup. I know you've never asked me for anything, he said to Daniel. I know you've never once made me feel like I owed you. And I know that what has been done to your wife in this family over the years, the way she has been made to feel like a guest in rooms she should have felt at home, and I know some of that is my fault for not saying something sooner. He looked at me. You have been present every single time it mattered, he said to me. You were there when I needed someone and my son, my other son, was not. I see that. I want you to know I have always seen it. I didn't trust myself to speak. I just nodded. I'm not leaving anyone on the street, Harold continued, addressing the room again, but I am making changes that reflect reality, not convenience. He gestured to his attorney. If anyone has questions, Jeffrey can answer them. Tonight, I'd like to have the rest of my birthday with the people I actually want here. He looked at Patricia. That includes everyone in this room, he said, and his tone when he said it made clear that he meant it as a warning, not an invitation to argue. Lily tugged on Harold's sleeve. He looked down. She held up the ceramic cardinal. We brought you this, she said. I picked it out. Harold took it in both hands very carefully. He looked at it for a long moment. When he looked back up, his eyes were bright. This is the best gift I got tonight, he said. Marcus and Courtney left about 20 minutes later. I watched them go from across the room. Marcus walked out without looking back. Courtney paused at the door, and for a moment I thought she might say something. To me, to Harold, to anyone. But she just picked up her coat and followed him out. Patricia did not leave. She stayed, and she was very quiet, and she refilled her wine glass twice, and she did not speak to me for the rest of the evening. I didn't need her to. I sat with Harold at the long table after the other guests had mostly drifted home, and we ate the cake that someone had ordered, white with lemon filling, and Lily fell asleep on the couch with Harold's old golden retriever curled up against her legs. You should have told me, I said to him, when you found out about the land. You didn't have to carry that alone for 3 months. I know, he said. I wanted to be sure, and I wanted to do it right. He looked at Lily across the room. I didn't want it to be a fight. I wanted it to be a fight. I wanted it to be a fact. I understood that. I had spent 9 years in a family that ran on unspoken rules and silent negotiations, and I knew the difference between a conversation that ends a conflict and a statement that simply ends it. The land, I said. You don't have to. I know I don't have to. He cut a piece of cake and pushed the plate toward me. Eat. You drove 2 hours. I ate the cake. It was very good. On the drive home, Lily woke up just long enough to ask me something from the back seat. Is Grandpa Harold going to be okay? Yes, I said. He's going to be fine. Is he sad about Uncle Marcus? I thought about that for a moment. Maybe a little, I said. But I think he's more at peace than he was before. She thought about this. Because he told the truth? Yes, I said. Because he told the truth. She seemed satisfied with that. She leaned back against the seat and closed her eyes again. Daniel reached over and took my hand on the center console. He didn't say anything. Neither did I. There wasn't much to say. After 9 years of being the family that was tolerated, we had finally been seen by the one person whose seeing had always mattered most. It didn't fix everything. Patricia was still Patricia. Marcus would contest what he could and accept what he couldn't. And there would be lawyers and awkward holidays for a while yet. None of it was clean or simple or wrapped up the way you want things to be. But I thought about Harold standing in that living room in his gray blazer with his cane and his quiet certainty. I thought about him waiting at the door to let us in. I thought about the way he had held on to Lily on those front steps, just a second longer than necessary, like he was apologizing for the wait. I thought about 9 years of soup pots and school concerts and cardiac appointments. 9 years of showing up when other people found reasons not to. There's a version of this story where I tell you that I got what I deserved. But honestly, that's not what it felt like. What it felt like was simpler than that. It felt like someone finally kept the door open,